Hello, everybody, and welcome to Zero to Launch podcast. And I'm your host, Lena Levine. And before we jump in and welcome our today's speaker, Bree Seeley, I'd love to share a few words about the mission of and vision of what we're doing here. I started this webinar last year with a goal of helping entrepreneurs to build their businesses correctly from the beginning. I've been in the startup tech industry for over a decade. I'm running a digital product agency called Forcoda. And over the years, I've seen hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs making the same mistakes over and over again, spending years of their life and tens of thousands of dollars building products that nobody wants at the end, and eventually failing as entrepreneurs. So I said this is a mission to educate and spread share the experience of great entrepreneurs out there to help founders that building their first startup, or maybe they scaling the existing company, to do it right, to avoid those common mistakes and increase the chances of their success. And I'm super excited about today's guest, Bree Seeley, because we're going to be talking today about a very hot topic, which I'm personally, I get to struggle a lot with it myself, which is, dealing with a business and going through a very tough entrepreneurial journey. So today we're going to talk with Bree to share her insights and her experience to how to make business not a struggle. So and a few things that we're going to cover is how to identify the best way to solve the right problem with the right business model, managing overwhelm as you bring in your vision to life, and the most effective resources for you to use to make progress. And Bree Seeley, she's a bespoke business designer who works with both established and emerging female entrepreneurs to create highly profitable businesses through consistent revenue creation. Bree is also the founder of Infinite Horizons, a nonprofit on the mission to create economic equality for women through business and entrepreneurial education and empowerment. You may have seen her winning awards for Business Coach of the Year on a TEDx stage, delivering her revolutionary From Wages to Wealth talk, or on any number of press outlets such as Good Morning America, The Today Show, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Women's Health, and more. So, and with that said, Bree, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, and so I was, as I was preparing for this podcast, I was looking at your content online, and I checked out your website. And one thing that just was shouting in my face, I love, like at the top of your website, you have a phrase says, "Entrepreneurship isn't supposed to be so damn difficult." And I was like, yes, I'm so happy that finally said it. So I'd love to, deep dive into this topic today. But before we go there, can you please share, about your experience, where you're coming from? How did you get to this? How did you come up with an idea for your business?
Yep. So I actually started my first business right out of grad school. And I had trained bachelor's and master's, plus I had experience. My grandmother taught me how to sew when I was 5 years old. And my bachelor's and master's were both in fashion design. So it made sense for me to start a fashion business. And I did. I started very small, one-off pieces, custom pieces, then started releasing collections and entering runway shows and winning awards and selling on Zappos.com and dressing celebrities and like all of these amazing, crazy, like I've dressed Toni Braxton. My stuff has been seen on The Bachelor, like all these amazing, crazy things. And what was happening behind the scenes, everyone was like, oh, it's so fancy. Like Bree's so fancy. Behind the scenes, I was having daily panic attacks. I was in the fetal position in bed all the time. I was crying constantly. It was like, I was so stressed out. And the disconnect was I was doing all these amazing, great things, but I wasn't selling at the end of the day. And at that point in my entrepreneurial journey, I hadn't invested in fully learning what it took to take that vision and like truly make it a profitable business. So I was meditating one day, it was March of 2015. in this room full of other amazing humans. And I heard this very clear: fashion isn't it, shut it down, walk away. And it was the permission slip I needed to say, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, I thought it was my only option. I thought that was all that was available to me in the world. And so I was like, all right, permission granted. 72 hours later, I closed my business down and then was like, all right, universe, game on. What's next? Like, I have a very expensive business coach that I just hired last week before I was told to shut my business down. So now I have a coach, no business, and no income. Oh, and also I just totaled my car. So also a brand new car payment. So I was like, how is this all going to work out? And within a few weeks, I had just kind of been looking back over who I am and what I am and how I provide value and all this stuff. And it was very clear that women had been coming to me for years saying, can you teach me to do what you did with your business? And I kept saying like, no, I don't do that. So I was like, well, what if I did do that? And I started coaching women, supporting them to bring their visions to reality. I started a lot of manifestation coaching in the very beginning, moved into a lot more like business strategy coaching, but a combination still of like the inner and the outer. And over the course of, by 2019, I was the top entrepreneur coach on Google. Again, I've won other awards for, Businesswoman of the Year, Coach of the Year, lots of amazing things. I had my first TED Talk last year. So it's been this journey, and it's now been 8 years. I just had my 8-year anniversary of this business. And what do they say? It's like the overnight success thing takes like 8 years to reach. I kind of said to my boyfriend a few weeks ago, I was like, I feel like that's maybe pretty true. Like, I really feel like there's been a lot of momentum happen at like right at that 8-year mark, So this idea of like taking this inner vision and turning it into your outer reality is something that has just been really persistent and consistent in my journey. And there are some really difficult things about it. I'll tell you straight up, I am in a very difficult moment this morning. Like, I'm having a really hard time right now trusting that my vision is going to become a reality. And it's just something that as entrepreneurs and creators, we have to learn how to navigate, and we have to have tools and resources in our back pocket to access on the days when I said to my boyfriend this morning, do you think if I just stay on the couch today, everything will just go away? So this topic is very resonant for me, especially right now as well. I'm an expert in these things, and I'm also going through it.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing it. And I gotta say, I've been also dealing with a similar challenge, I would say, in the last month. And it would be probably pretty accurate to say that that's kind of like a day-to-day, just like a day-to-day in the background of every entrepreneur out there, right? Having the vision, but also trying to focusing on that vision, but at the same time in the back of your mind question, is this the right direction that I'm moving into? So dealing with those voices, like some days, right, I feel like, for example, amazing. I'm like, yes, I'm just like crushing it, everything lines up. And certain days I just feel like, oh my God, like, when is it going to stop? And there is a crisis after crisis that you have to navigate and solve, and you're just like getting beat up, and you're like, oh my God, this is so tough. So it's always the ebbs and flows of the process. And when you're on top, it's the best feeling in the world, right? You feel like $1,000,000 bucks. But like when you going through that low of the low, it's like, oh shit, like, am I doing, like, there's always like all those questions start rising up, the self-doubt, right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Should I be doing something else? Should I pursue that other idea that I had but never pursued? So, and it's just, sometimes you gotta kind of like push through that tough period to get back into that up cycle of the process. So you mentioned you're doing coaching with women. Is that your primary focus, women entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you pursued that particular niche versus just, advising everybody?
Yeah, and I still work with men. I've had many male clients, but most of my marketing and stuff is targeted towards women because, women-owned businesses. I think we are at least in half and half right now, right? 88% of women-owned businesses never hit 6 figures. we're still all very aware that the wage gap is still very present, right? Like there are so many things that it's like, okay, why haven't women achieved equity yet in terms of our income? And so I firmly believe that the wage gap, if it were meant to close, it would have closed. If the glass ceiling were meant to have broken, it would have broken. And the only way that it's going to happen is when we empower ourselves to be the creators of a new way forward. And so I firmly believe for women that entrepreneurship is that path to economic equity. I believe that that is the path for us to create the income opportunities and equity that we need in the world to truly thrive. So that's kind of why I target women. I come from a long line of strong women. I talk in my TED Talk about my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, their struggles with access to economic equity. My great-grandmother had to put my grandmother in foster care when she was a child because she could not divorce her husband with children because she didn't have anything in her name. She didn't have a car, she didn't have a home, she didn't have a bank account, she had nothing. And so I just look back on those things and I'm like, the equity conversation is very real when it comes to women and money and women in business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that hits close to home as being an entrepreneur myself and being an immigrant and going through the struggle making it to the new country. I've seen it. It's not easy to make it. So, and
and I would say, especially for tech founders, like if you're going after traditional VC funding, women it actually went down. It used to be 4%. It's currently 2%. 2% of the funding. Are our ideas any less valuable? No. Are our ideas any less impactful? No. In fact, I'd probably say they're more impactful. Women-owned businesses are actually more successful statistically than male-owned businesses are.
I was going to say, yeah, even though they get less funding, but statistically the female teams are performing better. So yeah, crazy. Well, so with the entrepreneurs that you're coaching, what would you say the top challenges that you've seen founders encounter as they build their businesses?
So one of the things, and I know this is kind of one of the talking points that you and I touched on in terms of like what your audience needs as well, and what my audience struggles with, is really identifying like, what is my customer's main problem and how do I solve that? And in what way do I solve that? A lot of people, when they're sitting down to like think up business ideas or write business plans, they put themselves in like a silo and they sit and they like think and they, project about like what their customer's biggest problem is and how to solve it. And I one of the things in my new entrepreneurs program, right, is like, you're starting your business, go out and talk to your demographic. Well, and then I get well, I don't actually know anyone in my demographic. Okay, well, how do you think that you then know their problem if you're not in communication with anyone that is your demographic, right? So when we sit around and we pontificate on what their biggest problem is, and I say things like, when your customer wakes up at 3 a.m. and they are stressed out and they cannot fall back to sleep because their mind kicks in and starts the, mental rat race, what's keeping them up at night? And if you can't answer that question, you should not be moving forward with a business idea. Like you said, that time and money that it takes to build a business without adequately doing your due diligence to know, is this actually a problem in the market? Am I actually solving it for the right people? Am I actually solving it with the proper business model? What do all of those things look like? There's a million problems in the world. There's a million business models in the world. Are you matching the right things that your demographic needs in order to move forward in the right way? And so the first thing that I always recommend is you have got to go out and be in conversation with your customer. You need to ask questions and you need to listen. I listen constantly to what my customers are saying to me. On sales calls, I listen to exactly what their problems are. I actually have an intake form for people before I even get on a call with them, where I ask them all of these questions. So I have all of this aggregated data from women over the past several years that says, why haven't you started your business yet? What is your biggest struggle? What is your biggest challenge? Why do you think working with someone like me would help you overcome that challenge, right? Like that's all data that you need in order to launch the right business that solves the right problem with the right solution and model.
Yeah, beautiful. Did you notice any trends over those years? Are those the same problems that keep coming up, or do they evolve?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for new entrepreneurs, I get a lot of the like, well, what if it's not possible? Ooh, oh, or I don't know how to do this. So like, because I don't know how to do it, how am I going to make money off of it? Or there's just so much. It's really honestly in this process of vision to reality, it's that unknown piece that freaks people out the most. You can have this vision, you can see this vision in your mind's eye and your heart, like you can really have this idea of what you're building, but it's that pathway between that idea and it being fully formed and launched and realized in the world exactly how you see it that causes people so much stress and strife. And then also too, a lot of people are coming to me being like, well, I want to quit my job. Well, what if I quit my job and then don't have an income, right? Like and then it's some of the societal conditioning and like unweaving and undoing that. Is it really secure to put your safety in the hands of someone else? Or is it more secure to become the creator of your safety and your economic opportunities? So definitely lots of consistent answers along those lines.
Yeah. Oh my God. And this is what you just mentioned. It's just like resonated so much with me in terms of society, pressing us to conform to those expectations of, go to the college, get a job, like get a secure job that pays your, mortgage, your health insurance, just like work for some company and that's it because it's secure. That's the way to do it. And that's the same message that I encountered when I got into entrepreneurship and I started the business, where the family would say, oh, why are you doing this? Just, go. And I was a web developer, right? So I can find a great, well-paying job, work for some company, like banks or like large tech companies and just be set for life. But that's not what I wanted, right? Early on I discovered I didn't want to work for a corporate company. I worked for a small business and I worked for a small agency which ended up going out of business, and that's how I got into the freelance. And I loved it. I loved the having like the freedom to pursue my vision, do it in the way that I find correct, and I found it super rewarding. So that's the direction where I want to grow. But I just kept getting bombarded by people in my life like, why are you working so hard? Why are you doing this? This is so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. And I'm a huge fan of Grant Cardone books, and I read pretty much all of his books on like sales and a mindset. And there is this book called 10x rule. And one thing he also talks about it, how we from early on we conditioned to not stick out, to be like everybody else, to have that average mindset. But if you want to be successful in life, you have to break out of it. And it is scary. There are a lot of unknowns, but if you're not taking action and if you're just pondering and thinking about it, but without action there is no result. And sometimes you might take action, it might not be correct action, but instead of being discouraged, you learn from it and you make you draw the conclusions, you adjust, you try something else, and then in the end you're going to learn and grow, and your business is going to go with you. But without the mindset, until you change it, right, nothing will change if you keep thinking in those old ways.
Well, and I will say, so I started a podcast almost exactly 3 years ago. It's called Success Becomes Me. And I've interviewed hundreds of people, men and women, both entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs, both. Every single one of them, I used to start my episodes by asking, what's your definition of success? And every single person would be, well, I used to aim for the 6 figures and the house and the car and the like the checklist, right, of things that we're told is success. And they're like, I aimed for that and I got it. And I got to that point and looked around and was like, this is it. Like, this does not feel like I want to feel every day. And so this whole paradigm of shifting your definition of success, empowering yourself, like, it is such an important paradigm. And part of what, I did when I listened to customers as well is so many people said, I don't have the right people around me. So similarly to what you said, I had the same thing. I finally had to sit my family down in 2021. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2014. And I finally had to sit my family down in 2021 and say, you are not allowed to tell me to get a job ever again. Like, I get that I've faced some struggles in entrepreneurship, but do you know how depressed I was when I had a day job? Like, you think I'm not doing well now? Put me back in corporate. Let's see how that goes, right? And so because all these people aim for the same definition of success, if you're continuing to surround yourself with those people, you are going to continue to struggle and question your ability to bring your vision into reality. And so one of the things I love, almost all of my coaching is group-based. And I'm launching a conference to start bringing together more communities of people. Because if you don't have the right community of people around you when you're doing this, you will not succeed.
100%. It's like that story about the crabs in the bucket. If like one crab trying to climb out, they will keep pulling it down. So yeah, absolutely. The environment, the space, the people around you are crucial to your success and mindset. Actually, I moved to Miami a year ago, and that was like one of the reasons why. So I lived in Buffalo, New York for 13 years, and as much as I love the city and people, it's just I was like in the inspiration and being around those people that inspire me to grow and be better. And that's one of the reasons I moved to Miami, because that just like I immersed into that, and just like the energy and the ideas and experiences that I immediately got exposed to, it just like opened up a different world to me. So sometimes it's important to have that understanding and like reflect, right? To understand what's might be not working. And that's really important for entrepreneurs to have access to people like you who can kind of guide them and maybe help them pinpoint what's not working, so that way then can take action and make the change. Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. So okay, so going back to the where we started. So you mentioned that one of the common struggles is that entrepreneurs do not understand who's their client and what challenges they struggle in, right? Are there any other pain points or common mistakes that you see them make?
I think a lot of people, I mean, this is kind of related to the same thing. They launch revenue streams based on what they think is going to hit and what they think is going to be the benefit to their customers. And the other thing that they do once they've identified that as well is that they then try to sell the how and the what rather than the results, right? So for example, if someone is a service-based provider, they sell, oh, you get X amount of phone calls with me, you get this, meeting with me, you get this resource, da 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 da, but they don't actually sell the benefits of it. So like, I don't care how many phone calls I get with you. I care that I'm able to achieve the results that I want to achieve from having hired you, right? So even things like tech platforms, right? I don't care about the inner workings of the tech platform. I do not care. I'm currently in the process of getting a tech platform for my conference. And like, because it'll be hybrid, there'll be seats, you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. And all of these tech companies are trying to sell me like all these bells and whistles and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, 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 no. At the end of the day, what's important to me is that my customers have this experience of feeling like they're in the room with us, even though they're sitting at home, And so it's that mindset shift of like, yes, you need to like figure out what your revenue stream is going to be and how that's solving the problem. You also need to sell to people what the resolution of that problem is. The way that I look at it, and I tell people, I'm like, when you get on an airplane and you're flying from LA to New York, do you get up in that cockpit and have the pilot explain to you exactly all the bells and whistles, buttons, and everything that they're going to do to get you from LA to New York? No, you sit down in your seat, you put the seatbelt on, you trust that they are getting you to your destination without having to micromanage and know every single little thing that they're going to do to get you there. Same thing with sales. Stop selling people the every little thing you're going to do to get them there. They don't care. They don't care about that. What they care about is getting to their proverbial New York, right? Like getting to that destination safely and easily with minimal turbulence, with free beverage service, with maybe a nap thrown in there as well, right? Like that's what people care about when they are looking to purchase from a service provider.
Yes. Wow. And this is so powerful. I just want to like take a second and just like have people to absorb this message. This is, I think it's like one of those like a core fundamental principles of successful businesses, right? Just like you said, the if you solve the problem, like the vehicle of that solution can be anything. It doesn't matter like how you're going to help me with sales. Are you going to knock on every door to get me sales? Are you going to do lead gen, cold calls, email marketing, social, right? That solution, the vehicle can be anything. But as long as you solve that problem that I have, which is again going back to understanding the problem that I have, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs kind of like miss the mark on. Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing this. So with as entrepreneurs, right, as we work on our businesses and as our companies scale, there is sales and growth can be one part of it, but then we also have so many other pieces, manage clients, manage processes, potentially hiring and managing the team, right? So that can get overwhelming very quickly. Just so many things flying in your face day to day. So how do you have recommendations how entrepreneurs can manage that overwhelm and at the same time ensure that they're getting closer to building up their vision?
So the first thing, and I'm going to harp on this again, because I think it is that important. First off, you have got to get a great community around you, because if you are just suffering in this overwhelm alone, it is going to become unbearable and unmanageable, and you're not going to be able to make it through to the other side. So having, a list of 5 people that you can call and just like be witnessed and be seen and just have them hold space for you so that you can get over that overwhelm, right? And maybe they're able to provide resources for you. Maybe they're able to give you some insights. I just was on a call before this one, and she gave me some really great reminders and words of wisdom to help me keep going today. You have got to have that right community around you, and they need to be a community that is partnership minded. They need to be a community that is abundance minded. They need to be a community that does not believe in competition. They need to be a community that believes that the rising tide raises all ships, right? Like they need to be people that are going to have your best interest at heart. So first thing in managing overwhelm, get the right people around you. And if you don't know where to find those right people, reach out to Lena or myself. We both are tapped in to great communities. I'm building, like I said, a really great community. There are people out there that will support you and love you through the entire process. The other thing that comes along with that, that's kind of tangential, a little different, is asking for help. which I know as entrepreneurs, we can just be like, I got this. I got this. I'm just going to work 20 hours a day and just, like, I got this.
Just going to
Like,
power through. I'm just going to grind it
exactly.
out. Oh my
What
God,
if
this is
we
like
weren't
such a toxic messaging all over social media on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if we weren't meant to actually power through? What if we aren't meant to do it alone? What if we just don't have the capacity to do it alone? I don't know. What if we want an easier path? Like, but also people don't know how to help you unless you ask them. And so oftentimes it takes reaching out to people and being like, I'm having this issue. I'm bumping up against this wall. Do you have any resources? Do you know someone? Do you ask for help? If you're sitting there suffering silently alone, no one knows what you need or how to support you. So reach out to some trusted people in your network. Again, if you don't have them, find someone like Lena or myself to introduce you to a community. It's really, really, really important. And then the last thing that I'll say on this is partnering up with people who have the things that you don't have. So if you're not an expert in a certain area, is there a way that you could bring on someone to support you in that area? Is there a way that you guys could form a partnership where maybe you contribute things to their business and they contribute things to your business, right? Like, what are some more effective, creative ways to get you the support you need so that you don't feel like the burden of this entire vision is on your shoulders and your shoulders alone?
And it's amazing how many people out there that share similar visions as yours, but you're not in a direct competition with yourself, right? So you might be running a marketing agency, but then you have somebody who does the technology and design, and then you come together and you share the same core values in terms of how you want to, manage the clients, what kind of approach to the problem solution that you have, right? And then you can align and support and strengthen each other, because most likely you'll be going through the same challenges, experiencing the same problems, dealing with the same, maybe like a client hiccups, right, or team hiccups, and then you can, come together and solve it from different angles. And again, yeah, like I said, so that way you're not alone. And I gotta say, I'm the guilty of that. Getting my head down, getting stuff like, like when I'm in a crisis, I'm always like default to my like integrator personality. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like do it and figure it out, instead of taking a step back and be like, okay, who can I reach out to, how can I leverage my network? So it's funny, I just had the same conversation with my coach last week, and I had this like aha moment. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing in the moment of crisis. And it's, sometimes we don't see it. And it's important to talk to people so they can help you to look at yourself from the outside, because when you're in that hamster wheel, it's tough to hit a pause and say, okay, let me actually look at the bigger picture here, and see if there are solutions that I'm not seeing. So yeah.
And oftentimes when we're, I liken it to being like the mouse. If we're on the ground in the weeds doing all the things, we literally don't have the perspective to be able to look down and see what's actually happening and going around, right? Like, we can only see what's like right in front of our face. So you almost need, I call it the eagle and the mouse, right? Like, you almost need an eagle in your life to be able to see clearly exactly where you are and what you need, so that you can, manage and navigate and maneuver. That's part of why I love what I do, is I get to be that eagle for people and say like, hey, I know that you're like seeing this thing right here, but there's like so much more available to you over here if you were to just turn around and like see it from a different perspective. And so having someone in your life that can be that for you, because it is hard to be both the eagle and the mouse at the same time in your business.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And I'm curious, you mentioned the community that you build in. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, I've had an online community for a little while, and I have never really talked about it or sold it or encouraged people into it. And with the advent of this women's conference that I'm launching, everyone that attends the women's conference will actually get access to this online community, which has, monthly coaching sessions. It has challenges to help people really expand past what they believe is possible for them. It's going to have like well over 1,000 members in it. At the end of the conference, it's going to be bringing in guest experts, providing resources, like all sorts of things, again, to make that entrepreneurial journey easier for you. So I'm really excited about it. It's also going to be a way for everyone that's at the conference together to stay in community, because you're going to have some challenges for people at the conference, like building partnerships, making alliances, finding ways that you can collaborate with the other attendees at the conference. Again, that like idea of the rising tide raises all ships. If you are in the tide with us, you are coming on up. And so that's exactly what is happening with that community. And it's stemming from this. People will be able to join if they don't attend the conference, but also the conference is really like the catalyst for it.
Yes.
To like flourish.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like from the conference, you always have like all these great takeaways, and you're ready, like, okay, I can implement this, I can implement that. And then the community can be support to keep you accountable. And I think that's, super important.
How many times have we all gone to conferences? We get the dopamine hits, we get the notebook full of notes, we get all excited, we get all riled up, like we're feeling really good in the room. And then we get home and we have to take the cat to the vet, or the water heater goes out, or, like all these other things happen, and you're like riding high when you get home. And then all of a sudden you just crash back into what your life has been. Right. And it's really important for me that this conference not become that thing you did that one time. And in order to maintain that vibration, that level, you've got to have a plan afterwards to keep that going. And so this isn't just a conference. It is an experience. It is a container that you're going to be in a really supportive, encouraging, high vibrational growth way. My goal is to survey the attendees 6 months and a year later. And my goal is to see 130% revenue growth for people within that year.
That's impressive. That's amazing. Well, Brie, I wish I've met you when I was starting my business 8 years ago. Where were you?
Hey, I help established businesses as well. So, it's, the whole journey for me is like, yes, I start with people. I can start with people when they're new. But then I also have a one-step up tier that's like, okay, you've been in business for a while. You've like done some good things, but now you're like at this flux point where you want to grow, but you don't know what you need to do to get there. And so like, what does that look like? And then I help CEOpreneurs as well, really streamline operations systems, things like that. So I help all manner of entrepreneur and have programming for each and every level.
Yeah, oh, that's great to know. Wonderful. And just like one thing to add to what you said, it's important to keep the conversation going, so that way what you're working on stays on top of your mind, because again, we're getting bombarded all the time by other priorities. Someone else's puts their to-do items on our list, and it's just like easy to like keep pushing our priorities further down that list, and that at some point you're like, you already forgot what you learned and you lost the interest. And I was listening a podcast last week, and with a successful entrepreneur, and one thing that he attributed to his success is like taking action immediately. He's like, if I like learn something and like I got an idea, I need to take action immediately, because if I don't like act on it within like 24 hours, it's gone. So, and for me, I was like, oh my God. And I've heard it from so many entrepreneurs, like, if it's so funny. That's my wallpaper on my cell phone. It's a quote from, again, Grant Cardone. It says, take action immediately. If it's worth doing, do it now. So that's what separates successful people from people that are, not making it like taking that action and just like committing. Once you took action, once you committed to it, that's it. You don't have to overthink what if I, and it's just like, I became, I would say in last year, I shifted towards that more action taking mindset. And I gotta say it like freed up the space in my head, because I don't have to like overthink like, well, what if I do this and that? And you're in that like analysis paralysis, instead of like, okay, just like do it, see, you're gonna at least, people who attend your conference, they're going to be at least one that $1 million takeaway that will change their life in the course of action, right? And it's all worth attending and taking that action. If you can take away at least one thing that will positively impact your growth and business. So yeah. Awesome. So so now, as we're talking about taking action and making the progress, do you have recommendations for the most effective resources or ways to achieve that progress?
Yeah. So the first one, as always, is your network. This is the people that are doing similar things to you are going to have great resources that they have already researched, that they have already done their due diligence on. Someone just came to me the other day, one of my clients actually, and was like, I'm looking into online like community portals. And I was like, great. I literally am the expert on all of them because I toured every single one before I made my decision. So what are you looking for? What's your main priority? And let me help you shortcut that process. When I was looking for my online portal for the conference, I had a conversation with a woman and she was like, you need to look into this brand. Like, this is going to be the one. And sure enough, got a proposal in my inbox from them yesterday, and they're the ones I'm going with, right? So talk to people that are doing similar things as you and ask them for their resources. They've already done their due diligence. And again, if they are the rising tide raises all ships kinds of people, they're going to graciously share resources with you in a really abundant way. Also, other resources that I really love, obviously there's so many streamlined resources nowadays. I am loving, if you're a podcaster, I am loving Capshow. It's an AI tool that helps you write you literally upload the audio from your talk into the platform, and it spits out the description, the title, the YouTube description, all the social media things, a blog post, an email, all the things, right? I love Video, vidyo.ai. Again, you upload a video into it and it spits out 10 to 15 under 60-second clips that you can put on your social medias. Yeah, I love any and all resources that shortcut time, because as entrepreneurs, we have limited time. So what are the resources I can get in place? I love, as a resource, virtual assistants. I love scheduling platforms. I love things that make my life easier that can, like I said, shortcut those time things. So look into resources that can solve those problems for you. If you find yourself duplicating your efforts or taking too much time to do something, there has got to be a resource out there for you to help make it easier. And if there's not, hey, great business idea for you.
Love it. Wow. Well, Bree, this was a value-packed episode. I love it. I feel so energized and inspired by talking to and hearing about those things. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you wanted to share that maybe I didn't ask you about, or any final thoughts, wisdoms?
I don't think so. And I will say this has been a great, conversation for me as well. It's interesting. Some of these things I'm like, oh, right, where I'm struggling right now. Like, I have now a list of people in my head that I'm like, I need to reach out for help today. I have, some community asks that I need to make of my people. It has been, again, just as beneficial for me to like reiterate these things. Because again, when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to see. And so I just appreciate you holding this space today. I know I got some great takeaways out of it, even though I was the one teaching it. And so hopefully the listeners did as well.
Beautiful. I'm so happy. Thank you, Bree. And so I'm going to share your contact information. So that way, anyone who's interested can reach out to you. And then, okay, yeah. Can you see my slide, right, with the contacts? Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out to Bree, and if you have any questions, you can find her kicking butt on Instagram with her amazing content at Bree Seeley, and you can email her at bree@breeseeley.com. And also check out the conference Success Becomes Me. It's I believe it's May 16th to 18th. And again, Bree, can you just share a few words about the conference and who it would be perfect for? Who should attend?
Yep. So it is a 3-day activation for any stage entrepreneur. Day one, we're really going to expand your vision for what you believe to be possible. And we're going to begin to ground that in reality. So a lot of the things we were talking about today. Day two is all about resources. Similarly to what we were just talking about, your final question, like what resources, tools, knowledge, like what do you need in order to now bring this bigger vision to life? We're going to have people talking about forming partnerships and being podcast guests and sales and all sorts of other things to really help you know the pathway forward. And then day three is going to be all about resiliency, because kind of like we've touched on a little bit today as well, they're going to be hard days. And when you have those hard days, it is not an invitation to quit. It is an invitation to reassess. And so everyone speaking on day three, there's actually a former Senate person who she ran for Senate in Oklahoma, and she ran knowing she was going to fail. And so like, how do you have the resiliency to keep going and run a full force campaign knowing that you're going to be quote unquote unsuccessful with it, right? And what does that look like? So we're going to be talking about resiliency. I'm going to be talking about a lot of the challenges and struggles and hard days I've had leading up to the conference. And really this conference for me is the literal epitome of going from vision to reality. And so yep, this is the conference. It's going to be really incredible. We have 18 speakers coming from around the world. It is going to be amazing, to say the least.
That's awesome. Beautiful. And you said it can be attended both virtually and in person.
Yep, there are virtual ticket options as well.
Awesome. And is it both for early stage entrepreneurs and established entrepreneurs?
Yep. No matter what stage business you are in, you are going to learn from this, and you are going to make relationships that are going to support you in really bringing that idea, your current business, whatever, to the next level.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, this is great. Thank you so much for being on this podcast, Bree. So, and sharing your wealth of knowledge. This has been extremely helpful. And to be honest, this was one of my favorite conversations that I had so far on this podcast. So
I won't tell anyone. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for holding this space. This was a great way for me to start my day.
Happy to hear. Thank you. And thank you everybody for being here with us today. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.